Hello everyone, my name's Dean. Let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is October 31st, 2024. Happy Halloween for those of you who celebrate. And I just made a video yesterday about how I thought Bitcoin was likely at a local market top, although Friday, November 1st, right, tomorrow, is our new moon, which typically signifies our local market top. Based off the price action, I said it was very likely we were in distribution and the next move was a capitulation or a sort of a rundown from that market high. And I set a target. And that target was the top of this range, right? This purple range that you see here on your screen, which was our previous consolidation that we broke out from to make that high, okay? So here was the previous consolidation. We finished that consolidation, and then from the bottom of that consolidation made the move up. And I said, more likely than not, this consolidation would lead to a distribution, capitulation, and the target is the top of this range. I still maintain that the target is the top of this range. We're almost there, but not quite yet there. As I said in the previous video, I believe we hit that target Saturday afternoon, okay, and we'll see. Right now, according to this chart, it's likely, based off of the time component of Elliott wave theory, if this indeed is a pure impulse to the upside, the uptime took 3 days and 20 hours. Thus far, we've been down and sideways for 2 days and 2 hours. 3 days and 20 hours would be Saturday at 11 a.m. So Saturday, 11 to 12 p.m., I think we hit our target of 68,700 thereabouts, okay? And this is an important target. I'm just going to quickly recap yesterday. It's an important target for two main reasons. Firstly, it's the top of this multi-day consolidation, okay? We've spent, what was it, like 12 days? Yeah, 10 to 12 days going sideways at this level, okay, right between 65 and about 69K, okay? And typically the way markets work is that previous resistances, right, broken, have to be flipped into new support. That's all we're doing here. That's all this would be, okay? That is literally the game. In addition, it's extremely important, even more so than this, because if you zoom out on the higher time frames, so going on the weekly, you can see that Bitcoin has been in this channel since early 2023, this blue channel, okay? And that's what that is. Some people are wondering why I have, my chart in blue. It's because Bitcoin's in this blue channel. I've been tracking it since the beginning of 2023, actually end of 2022, to be more precise. And what's important about this channel in this regard is that we're right now retesting the midline of the channel, okay? So running back down onto our hourly time frame, you can see that the midline of this channel is being retested as support. And given that it's such a high time frame retest, right? It's the retest of a high time frame target, meaning, this channel's been in existence since end of 2022. It's now almost end of 2024, almost 2 years worth. Testing the midline is important to leave a channel, okay? So if we say we want to make all-time highs, we say we want to, rocket to the moon, in order to leave this blue channel that Bitcoin's been in since the end of 2022, you have to do a midline retest. That's just how price action works. You have to test previous resistances as new support. 3 aspects that are crucially important to any channel. It doesn't matter if it's a 5-minute channel, on the 5-minute time frame rather, or on the, the weekly time frame. The top, which is resistance, the bottom, which is support, and the midline, which is resistance when you're below it, support when you're above it. We're above the midline right now, and we've actually, let's go back on the daily time frame because this is really important. We've actually only been above this midline for a brief amount of time, okay? If you can see here, this descending broadening wedge that Bitcoin was in for almost 7 months was a resistance in and of itself. And we broke that, retested it, and from that retest, like I said, moved up, okay? Now, with that move up, we broke the midline of this multi-year channel. So coming back down would be a retest of the midline, and given that it's such a high time frame retest, I don't think it's going to happen in just one quick move. I could be wrong, because this is corrective price action. It's capricious by nature. It's capricious by design. It's crazy. It's hard to predict. But based off of my understanding of how markets work and my experience and having, looked at charts for years and years and years on end, literally, I would not be surprised if when we came down to this level, we took our time consolidating at it, really to establish this level as new support, right? Taking our time consolidating on top of that midline. So my other prediction is when Bitcoin does come down here, maybe it's, Saturday afternoon, maybe it's earlier, maybe it's later, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was some point this weekend. And if it happened before this weekend, like today or tomorrow, I still wouldn't be surprised if we spent time here, because this is such an important level, and the price, by virtue of its importance, by virtue of the fact that it's such a long-standing resistance, level, the price took its time, accumulated orders before rocketing up, because the subsequent move up, remember, is the big move, capital THE, that takes you to all-time high, that breaks all-time high, that goes into price discovery. So don't be surprised. Don't expect Bitcoin to just touch and go. It can, but I think that's unlikely based off of what I just said. That being said, this episode is about altcoins. Obviously, I have to talk about Bitcoin because we use Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. It's important to understand what Bitcoin's doing. If Bitcoin is dumping, it's unlikely that any altcoin is going to be rallying. If Bitcoin is going sideways now, we can rally. Okay? If Bitcoin is going sideways, remember what I just said about this level. If Bitcoin is going sideways, you can indeed expect alts to rally from that, because alts feel safe enough given that Bitcoin is at support, and it's going to follow suit, but it's not quite there yet. And do expect for that to happen. Do expect alts to front run Bitcoin, because that is the nature of alt season. If indeed Bitcoin is going to find support at this level and then subsequently make all-time highs, go into price discovery, do expect for altcoins to do that beforehand, because that's the nature of alt season. That is exactly what we see when the whole entirety of the cryptocurrency market rallies. We see altcoins doing insane things. Bitcoin follows up with its own cool little trick. So that is a highly likely, high probability read of the Bitcoin market. Now, let's talk about the altcoins. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to start by going into these two indicators, the US dollar currency index and the Bitcoin dominance index. And then I'm going to talk about altcoins specifically. I'm going to go down my watch list, my personal watch list, and I'm going to give altcoin targets to the bottom, and then the first logical resistance to the top, if I can find one. Some of them I'm not going to be able to find because they're going to go into price discovery, aka stacks, aka Tron. I think stacks will. I think Tron will. Almost positive Tron will, but stacks I'm not exactly sure. We'll see when we get to it. In any case, I'm going to go down. If you do want a personal, if you have a personal request and you want an analysis of some random altcoin that I don't have in my watch list, or you want an altcoin that's in my watch list, but you have other questions, I do have a service for that. It's on my Buy Me a Coffee website, and you can order an analysis of that asset from me. I'm going to leave the link to my Buy Me a Coffee where you can order that analysis in the pinned comment below. Okay, so please don't ask me for any altcoins that I'm not going over in this episode, because you have to order it. I just don't have any time to go to do lives and go, through everybody's kind of requests. I'm sorry, that's just how it's being done at this point, but hopefully you don't even need to, because A, the altcoin that you're interested in is going to be in my watch list, or B, you get the gist, because you're going to see a lot of common themes, a lot of common patterns, and you can apply those same patterns to your own altcoin analysis, and you can figure it out on your own. That's ideal. All right. So, Bitcoin, we have an idea of what's likely to happen. Look at what's happening on the US dollar currency index. This is very important. By the way, I'm going to timestamp this video since I'm going to talk about a million different things. So don't worry. Look at the US dollar currency index. What did we say yesterday? We said that this was likely an impulse, and this was likely a distributive channel, right? Wyckoff analysis people, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Consolidation leading to a change in direction to the downside is called distribution. That looks really promising for subsequent distribution. Okay, it did exactly what we thought it would, insofar as it went up and tested the midline of this channel. Remember, midlines of channels are important. Not everybody talks about it, but look at it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Look at it for yourself. This is exactly what happened here. In the past 2 4-hourly candles, we came up, retested the midline of this channel, rejected off of it. A rejection of this creates a new impulse to the downside, right? Basically undoing everything that just happened here. So what you're going to see in markets, S&P, NASDAQ, like crypto, is markets are going to start to rally off of the US dollar coming down in relative value. This US dollar currency index is what moves all markets. So understanding the US dollar currency index is huge. And being able to ascertain, to identify changes like these swings, these inflection points in the US dollar currency index is a strategy unto itself. Because it's not just about the traditional markets, it's about any risk on asset that is being traded. It's affected by this US dollar currency index. And if the US dollar currency index, once again, it's going down, you can expect rallies in traditional markets, rallies in crypto, writ large. Obviously, even when the US dollar currency is going up, you're going to see random rallies in some crypto projects, random rallies in certain on certain tickers in Wall Street, but I'm talking about a general pump in the risk on asset market. So that's really important. That's doing what we thought it would. On the 4-hourly time frame, it looks like it's going to lose this level of support that's been held for about 8-9 days, right? On the daily time frame, it looks like we're falling, and we haven't even thought about closing the K and D line. So our momentum indicator shows that momentum should continue to the downside based off of this momentum indicator, right? This stochastic RSI momentum indicator. On the hourly time frame, it's also looking dire, looking like it's going to break support of this 8-day, 9-day channel right here. Okay, so you see multiple tests of the top. Top has been tested 1, 2, 3 times. The midline has been tested 1, twice. It looks like we're going to lose it, okay, on the small time frames and the larger time frames. That's really interesting. Now, last indicator I'm going to talk about before going into specific altcoins is a very important indicator. Okay, actually, second to last indicator I'm going to talk about before going into specific altcoins. I'm going to talk also about the total 3, okay, and that's important. Look at this. We talked about this yesterday. The Bitcoin dominance indicator, okay? For those of you who don't know anything about Bitcoin dominance, I'm going to quickly summarize. Bitcoin dominance is a measure of Bitcoin's dominance vis-a-vis the rest of the cryptocurrency market. So if Bitcoin dominance is going up, meaning there are green candles on this indicator, that means Bitcoin's gaining against the rest of the cryptocurrency market, i.e. altcoins. Meaning Bitcoin is going up, altcoins are going up less than Bitcoin, or Bitcoin's going down, altcoins are going down more than Bitcoin. That's when Bitcoin dominance goes up. These are bear markets. These are bear markets right here. Every single time you see a steady impulse, a steady trend up in this indicator, this Bitcoin dominance indicator, this is when, markets are bleeding, and not just like a little bit, by a lot. And look at what's been happening since the end of 2022. Consolidation at the bottom after a bull market, and now a steady impulse. That is as strong as an impulse as you can see. Look at that. Like steady, up and to the right. That's 45 degrees of pain in crypto, okay? Even when Bitcoin was going up marginally, it's not going, altcoins are not going up as much of it as it. So, you're essentially losing by investing in altcoins since, in aggregate, since late 2022. That's what this indicator is telling you. Now, I'm going to zoom in a bit, okay? Granted, I've accepted the high time frame read. I've accepted what I see, which looks heinous, which looks terrible, which looks like it's still not time. But I do recognize this as being high time frame resistance. And I know at some point in time, we're going to get some rejection here. Can't see it on the weekly time frame, so I'm going to have to zoom in. So this is my zoom in. I'm zooming in on the 4-hourly time frame. Every big high time frame move starts with a small time frame move. So it's not bad to look at small time frames. You just have to understand it in context of the larger time frames, okay? And on the smaller time frames, what am I seeing? I'm seeing this ending diagonal. This is what we call an ending diagonal, okay? A move. But even these run out of steam. And this is what I'm seeing here on this chart. I'm seeing a move down, corrective, and a move up. That's one pair. Move down, corrective, and a move up. That's two pairs. Move down, corrective, and a move up. And now, some sort of pivot or inflection. I believe that this inflection leads to a break in this ending diagonal. Okay, could be wrong. But looking at my hourly indicator, looking at my stochastic RSI momentum indicator on the hourly time frame, I have confirmed bearish divergence, right? Playing out. Confirmed bearish divergence. What does that mean? Okay, quite simply, if I'm looking at the Bitcoin dominance indicator on the hourly time frame, I have a high and a higher high here, okay? High, higher high. Boom. That's on the chart. And on the indicator, I have a high and a lower high right there. That is divergent. That is discrepant, right? So we have a higher high and a lower high in the indicator on this stochastic RSI momentum indicator, which indicates a continuation of the trend to the downside. So basically, even though this went higher than this, there's less momentum. So this is likely to break down. If this breaks down on the smaller time frame, then it breaks down on the larger time frame. And it, as you can see, it's been a steady climb with almost uninterruptedly of this indicator. If this indicator breaks here, that's all she wrote. That's altcoins starting their alt season. This is very important. Want to keep an eye out on that. Obviously, this is an effect. This is an indicator of what's actually happening in markets, but this is a great way to see it, kind of bird's eye view, to have a decent understanding of what the altcoin market is doing. And last but not least, before we get into our specific altcoins, I want to look at the total 3. Okay, this is basically our target. This was our target. Once again, we are in a channel, and this channel, excuse me, has been going since late or early October. Early October. This okay. By the way, total 3, for those of you who don't know, is every asset that's in crypto. Not really, but every asset that's being charted, using TradingView in crypto, minus Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's total 3. Minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, taking out the 2 biggest players. So you're kind of you're kind of taking out those market caps because they're so large they can skew the data. So this is a better, easier, more accurate way to see what most altcoins are doing, right? Because you're not getting a true average. You're never really getting a true average, but the average is so skewed by so much given the large, the enormous market cap of Ethereum and the enormous market cap of Bitcoin, which makes up pretty much half of all of cryptocurrency's market cap. Anyway, as you can see here, you go up and down, right, from the bottom to the top of the channel. You go up and down from the bottom of the top of the channel. You go up to the top of the channel and you test the midline. You can't leave the channel without testing the midline. That's exactly what we're doing. This is why this was a target. If you watched yesterday's episode, I said, looking at the total 3, this is going to be my target. My target for Bitcoin is, let's switch to Bitcoin really quickly since we're talking about it. See, my target for Bitcoin is over here. But my target for altcoins, my target for altcoins is down here at this midline. All right. And if we hit this, then I start paying attention to altcoins. I start looking for entries in altcoins. That is what I said yesterday. This is what's happening. So with that being said, let's go into specific altcoins. Like I said, I'm going to do my best to timestamp this entire video so you can go through. But I hope that everybody, regardless of what altcoin you're interested in, is going to look at that introduction, because that introduction basically applies to all of the altcoins in the space. Okay, now let's go through my watch list, and I'm going to start with a high time frame analysis, and then I'm gonna go down. This is what I always do. So I'm gonna start on the daily time frame, and we're gonna start with Cardano. Cardano is a great example of why it's such an important and exciting time to be in crypto, especially if you have interest in altcoins. Watch this. Okay, you can see that Cardano, since 2020, went in a very nice large impulse, okay? And the subsequent retracement of that impulse is almost textbook wave 2. So I labeled that as wave 1, wave 2 many years ago when I first started learning about Elliott wave theory. Very clear to me, this is a 5-wave impulse, or advance, as Ralph Nelson Elliott would call it. And this is a subsequent retracement of that 5-wave impulse. All right, that's a wave 2 retracement. And wave 2 typically retraces between the 382 and the 618 of the preceding wave. Okay, so wave 2 retraces between the 382 and the 618, which is the phi ratio of wave 1. As you can see, if you pull the Fibonacci retracement level, you have wave 2 coming down to almost the 0.5 retracement level. Okay. Again, this applies to any time frame, any asset. After a big impulse, either up or down, you always have to have an intermediary consolidation to change the direction. So just like it was going up, up, and up here, this was necessary to change the direction down. It went down for a while, for a year plus, right? This entire bear market was necessary. Even though it wasn't down, it was sideways, sometimes even worse. Because, I mean, it's just like, where do you get in? Where do you get out? People go crazy in these sideways markets. I'll call that a bear market as well. This was necessary to change the direction from down to up. It is basically at the end of this sideways accumulation. Okay, remember, this from up to down is what we call in Wyckoff analysis a distribution. From down to up is what we call an accumulation. Okay, and so if you look at Wyckoff analysis, you look at the Wyckoff accumulation chart, and the way I like to count it, quite simply, I look at 2 degrees of AB basing and a pivot. I look at it using Elliott wave analysis. Ralph Nelson Elliott talked about something that very few people talk about because it's not sexy. When you ask people if they know Elliott wave analysis, they'll say, yeah, 5 waves up, 3 waves down. Everybody knows that. Okay? But actually, the more useful aspect of Ralph Nelson Elliott's work, less sexy but more useful, is to understand when consolidations have completed, when consolidations are done or close to done. And that's by using his AB basing principle. He said, Ralph Nelson Elliott, a marvel of technical analysis, who lived in the early 20th century. He said that an asset or a commodity would undergo 2 degrees of AB basing, and I add a pivot because I've noticed that there's a pivot or a third AB base. So basically going up and down once, going up and down twice, going up and down a third time. That's the pivot, which I call it, okay? So he says you need these things to complete a consolidation. And after that, the asset can go back into advance or impulse, okay? If you look at Cardano on the high time frames, that's exactly what you got. After this wave 2 finished down here, you went up and you went all the way the hell back down. You went up and you went all the way the hell back down. That seems like to some people, they call that manipulation and, the man, and people hate this and that, and they're No. That's just what happened. Look at any asset on any chart, on the high time frame, on the small time frame. If you're paying attention, this is what you're going to see. The thing is, it's gonna look a little different in every other asset because it is corrective price action. And by definition, as I said earlier in this video, corrective price action is by definition capricious. It's by definition unpredictable. So it's very hard to say. But this is what I'm seeing. 1 degree of AB basing, 2 degrees of AB basing, a pivot. Okay, that pivot is complete and was complete in August. And you'll find, and we're gonna, so I'm gonna do different analyses of different assets in my watch list, but these are gonna play into one another. Because ADA was the first, I'm not going to repeat my analysis of the capitulation in August. There's something really important that happened in August, and that happened in pretty much every asset. Remember that. We're going to see it time in and time out, if that's even a turn of phrase. We're going to see it over and over again. And I'm going to keep referring to, if you missed the Cardano analysis, go back and look at the Cardano analysis. I'm not going to do this over again. I'm not going to make this video 1,000,000 hours long, and I'm not going to bore you. But that is huge, because we're going to start counting another degree of AB basing from August. This is so important. If you understand this, you'll understand why I'm so excited about altcoins right now. You'll understand why it's very likely that the Bitcoin dominance chart breaks down. It's very likely that Bitcoin goes into all-time highs and price discovery now. It's very likely that alt seasons start now because of what happened in August and because of what's happened since. Ever since August, now let's zoom in, okay? And this is kind of where I wanted to get to. And I'm not going to do a daily analysis on every asset. I'm just going to start from the August capitulation, because in August, that happened. Now I'm on the 4-hourly time frame. That happened in August. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to clean this up. Ever since August, pay attention. You've gotten 1 degree of AB basing, 2 degrees of AB basing, and what we call a pivot. That is done. That is done. That is, in my estimation, okay, because you can read it a million different ways, but in my estimation, I'm counting 3 different flat corrections, right? 786 retraces, flat corrections. This is a zigzag, actually. This one, is it a flat or a zigzag? A flat is when the move up is retraced to at least the 786. That's a flat correction. A zigzag is when the 618 is retraced to. Okay, so yeah, I'd say this is a flat correction. You see, the 786 is hit right here. I pulled it from this orthodox low, and the 786 was just kissed right there. This one is a zigzag. I don't even have to measure it, respecting the 0618. And then this is another flat correction. So I have a flat, a zigzag, and a flat. That's why this corrective price action is so difficult to read, and it's so difficult to predict. But it's the essence, it's the key to understanding when to get into a market and when to get out. Because if you know how to read this, you know when to put in your chips, and you know when to wait. Because this sideways stuff is death. This is what we call chop. This is what we call a no trade zone. It's hard to make any money when it's going sideways, unpredictably, in corrective price action. And consolidation, any kind of consolidation, whether it be accumulation or distribution, is corrective price action. Okay, so I count 2 degrees of AB basing in a pivot, right? 1, 2, 3. And from here, I'm counting pure impulses. So Cardano, in my estimation, is already in pure impulse. Okay, what does that mean? That means it's going 5 waves up, 3 waves down, 5 waves up, 3 waves down, and it's going to continue to go 5 waves up, 3 waves down until it hits a macro top of macro resistance, and it's going to do what it did before, do a distribution, or sorry, yeah, a distribution. So accumulate, or sorry, it's going to consolidate at a top, which is distributive, and then it's going to mark down, and then we're going to go and do this again. It's a cycle. So here, from the 25th, which is last Friday, I see Cardano as being 5 waves up, 3 waves down. 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 I'm looking at that to continue. So if I'm in Cardano, if I'm interested in Cardano, I'm very, very pleased with what I'm seeing, because I'm seeing sustained impulsive price action respecting the phi ratio. That's the next move. This is the bottom as far as I'm seeing it. If I'm looking at my stochastic RSI momentum indicator, I see that the 4-hourly momentum indicator is bottomed out. Okay, it's not crossed yet, but I think in 3 hours you'll get a cross in the K and D lines indicating a local market bottom. On the hourly time frame, you can see a cross, you can see an accumulation channel, and I like that you formed basically a small channel top here. Sorry, let's do that a little more cleanly. Right there, you see that? Boom, 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 boom. Break, retest, boom. That is, this right here for Cardano is my entry. This region right here is my entry. My next target on the daily, I want to zoom out to get a good target. My next target is going to likely be this top right here. This level right here. There's a lot of activity here. Okay? There's a lot of activity here. At 44.6 cents. Okay? So I'm looking at this. Excuse me. 44.6 cents for Cardano. Let's change that. I don't like the yellow. Yellow is, I'd put green. I'd take that down. 44.6 cents. I see Cardano going 30% in a first move, because that is a staunch resistance. As you can see, that's staunch resistance because that was this wave 4 here, broke down, retested, boom, came down into this big channel. That's the top of this channel, right? Broke out of this channel, used that as support, lost the support, retested it as resistance, came down into this. You gotta find resistance here again at 44.6 cents. That's my next target. It's a 30% move. So my next target for Cardano is a 30% move. That doesn't mean that that's the end. That's just the next time I think it goes 5 waves up, 3 waves down. Okay? So that is what I'm seeing for Cardano. That was a really long analysis, and that doesn't mean that every last asset that I do is going to be as long, but I'm going to play off of Cardano. So I'm going to keep referring you back to Cardano. Cardano is going to be the base of analysis, the basis on which I established the altcoin analysis in this video. Okay, we're going to stay on the daily time frame for my neighbor Alice. My neighbor Alice is actually, again, it capitulated in August as well. Everything did, from my assessment. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, August. Actually, this one capitulated earlier in July. Okay? So I think there's a capitulation in August, but I think the first capitulation in my neighbor Alice was in July, okay? And this as well, you can see you went up, you did a distribution, and you broke down, okay? And that breakdown came down all the way here, okay? August of 23 was the capitulation of this long-standing. I don't think that's a wave 2, actually. I think that is a zigzag. That's a type of 5 waves up, 3 waves down, but it's corrective in nature. I don't think my neighbor Alice has gone impulsive yet in its lifespan. So I think that from August of 2023, all this sideways stuff is basically accumulating buys before moving up. And I think the first target here, if you're looking, the first target here is quite high. It's all the way at $3.15. Don't be surprised if my neighbor Alice does a 3x off the rip. This is a shitcoin all-star, as I like to call it. It's a very low cap gem. It's been in trading. It's been trading for quite some time, and it has a lot of potential. Fundamentally, it's strong, and just looking at it technically, I'm not really seeing any major resistance until this level of $3.15, where I have this pink line right there. Okay, so once again, really quickly, I'm going to count from the August 2023 low that you see right here. I'm going to count this as 1 degree. No. I'm going to count this as 1 degree of AB basing. Wait, hold up. 1 second. Yes. This is, see, it's so complicated. You gotta suss it out. This is the A wave right here. It's A, B, C. And it's complex, but it's hard to read as it's forming. You can only read it after it happened. That's the issue with complex corrections. That's the issue with these consolidations. You can only read them and make sense of them after they've happened. So it's almost impossible to trade profitably. It's almost impossible to trade profitably, because as this is happening, you can tell yourself, ooh, I know where this is going. I know what's happening. But did you see this happening? Who saw that happening? That's a hard read to make. But after it happened, you can make sense of it. You can say, oh yeah, I can quite clearly see that this is an A wave, and this is the adjoining or pair of what's the word I'm looking for? This is the complementary B wave. I think complementary is the word I'm looking for, right? Because it basically, when you're looking at AB basing, you're looking at pairs. Every A wave has a B wave. There's no A wave without a B wave. There's no B wave without an A wave. And they complement one another. If it's a 5 wave up, zigzag, then you need a complementary B wave that's a 3 waves down, that's between the 0.5 and the 618. If it's a flat correction, you need a B wave of that A wave that's between the 786 and the 1618, right? So this is the initial A wave, and this is the B wave, and it's really drastic. And this is kind of the drastic nature of correction that you see in really low cap altcoins. They go up and down violently. They're very, very volatile. Okay, this is my second pair right here. Okay, this is my second pair. So this is my first pair of AB basing, second pair of AB basing down here. And I think what I'm seeing here is my third pair. That's a zigzag. So let's zoom in real quick on the 4 hourly time frame. Okay, so again, this is my neighbor Alice. And what I'm seeing here, and again, all this is going to be timestamped, but I'm always going to ask people to look at the introduction and look at Cardano in full. Because if you understand what I did with Cardano, you understand what I did with everything else, because everything, basically, I was as elaborate as I could be with Cardano, and those principles basically apply to all of these altcoins to a certain degree. So here you have what we call a zigzag. 5 waves up and the 3 waves down. It's tough. you would think 3 waves down is like this, right? A lot of people think that, or like this. No, no, no. Look at this. This is also a version of 3 waves down. You're still respecting the 0.5618, the phi ratio of this A wave, but you're just expressing it in this really difficult, unpredictable way. One of the reasons I love markets and hate markets, I hate both, love and hate this about markets, is they're so unpredictable. And when you're talking about corrective price action, you're talking about sideways price action. You're talking about unpredictable, very difficult to trade price action. Anybody who tells you that they can trade this and they know how to trade this with a high degree of probability is lying. Not with a high degree of probability. Sure, some people can do it, but you don't know what's happening until it's happening. It's very, very unpredictable. There's no rule for, oh, you need a zigzag there, or you need a flat correction there, or the zigzag has to look like this. You came into this region, and you came into this region, and 3 times you came into this region. But at the same time, you're always respected that 0.5 to 618. Who knew you were going to print a zigzag? But you did. At the end, you can see it very well, very clearly. It's a zigzag, and that's your pivot. Okay? And from here, you have a target of $3.15, like I said. That's a 300% move. That's what I'm seeing in my neighbor Alice. I'm seeing 30% in Cardano. I'm seeing 300% in my neighbor Alice. Okay? So yeah, that's what I'm seeing. And I think that you're pretty much at the end of this consolidation. These things typically happen in threes or flavors of 3. W, X, Y, X, Z. That's a triple 3, right? We have also in Elliott wave theory a double 3. So again, I'm interested in getting in at the end of this move right here to go up. Okay, and on the much smaller time frame, what am I looking at? I'm looking at a smaller degree of 2 degrees of AB basing, as you can see here. So 1 degree, 2 degrees, that's the 3rd degree down here. Boom. Retesting previous resistance as new support, and you fly from there. Okay? So I really like this for my neighbor Alice. Let's take a quick break and look at what Bitcoin's doing. Okay, looking like it's finding some sort of support in this region. But again, would not be surprised if it took its time here. It came down and it made a proper retest of this area of support. Okay, quick look at the DXY. Don't see much, but yeah, look at this. This total market cap, this crypto cap, finding support at the min line. Don't be surprised if things like my neighbor Alice that have a 300% move to go start moving sooner than later. That's what you see in alt season. Some altcoins just start going. They don't care if Bitcoin's not, done consolidating and at support yet. They have gains to make, and they haven't made gains for years. Okay, so let's keep going. Arweave. This one's very popular. Okay, very popular. And here, actually, what you can see is you've been in the confines of this larger channel for a long time. And I don't have the information as to what happened before here. I'm kind of blind as to what happened before here. So I can only assume what happened. So I'm only going to focus on this part without making any conclusions as to what this is. All I know is that this is corrective price action that's gone up and down within the confines of this channel. And this is the bottom of the channel, and you've had quite a lengthy accumulation at the bottom of this channel. That's all I know. Okay, that for years you were at the bottom of this channel accumulating, and you broke out of this channel, And actually, what you've been doing ever since March of this year is consolidating at on top of this old channel. Okay, this one is a little tricky and dangerous, and I'm going to tell you why. Arweave's tricky and dangerous because, as I just said, if you look at the higher time frame, you were in a large channel of consolidation that broke out, and it broke out and made significant gains in late 2023. It moved all the way up the channel and through, and at no point did I ever get a midline retest of this channel. I don't like this. I don't like Arweave. I'm not saying Arweave as a fundamental project. I just don't like the technicals here. The technicals in Arweave are extremely dangerous if you're paying attention. For those of you who understand what I'm referring to, what I'm getting at, you'll know exactly. Something's not right here. You spent, once again, for those of you who don't get it, you spent 500 plus days, okay, almost 2 years in a channel, okay, and that channel here on this chart is blue. It's very clear. You spent 500 days accumulating, going sideways. You did your work. You accumulated buys, okay? The buyers for Arweaves were accumulated earnestly, honestly, in 500 days. And it marked up like any good accumulation does, right? At the end of accumulation, that's the result. That's the fruit. That is the result of all of this hard work. And now, what needs to happen is you retest at the very least, the top of the range. If not, the midline. Because I don't see a proper retest of the midline of this range. So I wouldn't be surprised if Arweave came all the way back down to the top of the range, if not down, and did a retest of the midline. I wouldn't put my hard-earned money into Arweave until that happened. I would not put my hard-earned money into Arweave thinking that it was going up until that happened. If anything, I would short Arweave for a move down. Now, I'm not shorting in this market. In this environment where the US dollar currency index is doing what it's doing, Bitcoin dominance is doing what it's doing, I'm not shorting anything. But I'm saying, if I had to, gun to my head, if I had to make a trade on this asset, Arweave, it would not be a long. The first trade would be a short. And it would be now. Breaking this support down for at least, the very least, a decent retest of the top of this 500-day range. It's unfathomable, unconscionable that you can move out of this larger range. Zoom out for a second. It's unbelievable. It doesn't make sense that you can move out of this larger range without, at the very least, retesting the top of this blue range right here. So I don't like Arweave as a long. I'll say that. I don't know how many other people are saying that. I'm saying it. All right. Balancer. Next up. This is beautiful. This is completely different. As you can see, Arweave's one thing. Balancer is another. Balancer is a nice falling wedge. Super bullish. It's been a great buy for a while. And as you can see here, you're basically consolidating or accumulating at the bottom of the wedge. Okay? Any spot buy on Balancer at this point, you're buying the bottom. I don't care if it goes down 5-10% from here, which I don't think it will, but you're buying the bottom. You already bought the bottom. Any buy of Balancer that happened since July, consider it a bottom buy. I mean, that is the nature, that's the truth of this chart. This chart has been screaming by me for a long time because the next likely target for this asset is $3.85. Okay? It's got to hit the top of this wedge, this falling wedge that we've been in since November of 2020. Again, I want you guys to appreciate just how much shit we've been through holding these altcoins. Just how much accumulation has happened. Just how much time has been spent going sideways and down. Usually, they say, the longer the base, the higher in space. This sideways price action is another way to say the base, right? You spend time going sideways, accumulating buys. People are, this looks like it hasn't moved, and they buy it. This looks like it hasn't moved, and they buy it. People have been doing that for 4 years in Balancer. So when it starts going, it's going to go. Again, a spot buy in something like this. I mean, Stevie Wonder could see how good of a buy this is. Not financial advice, but I'm just talking about the chart. This chart looks so beautiful to me. It's textbook. It's very unambiguously bullish, unambiguously buying low. You always want to buy low. You don't want to buy high. You don't want to buy an R-weave. You want to buy a Balancer. Okay, smaller time frame. One would also consider Balancer made a capitulative move in August. Again, you see that. August, early August, you have this move. Came all the way down. Boom. That was the low. From there, you went up, you came down. That's your first degree of AB basing. You went up again, you came down. That's your second degree of AB basing. That is a zigzag, right? Because you go up, and then you come down in 3 waves, respecting the 0.5 and the 618. Your pivot, you go up in 3 waves, you come down. And that is your last degree of AB basing. And that, my friends, is what I'm seeing in Balancer on the higher time frame. I'm seeing a completion of 2 degrees of AB basing in a pivot. And here, I'm seeing 5 waves up, 3 waves down. My first completion of a clean, clear impulse in the Balancer asset. Okay, if I pull my Fibonacci retracement tool from the bottom to the top, you can see very beautifully, it's clear that I went up and I came down at the 0.618. And I would not be surprised if I spent a little time accumulating at the 0.618 and then moved off. Again, my next logical target for Balancer is at $3.85 on this chart. Obviously, every chart is going to be a little different. $3.85, after which I'm expecting a retracement to the midline of this channel, and that would give me a very nice, what is that? That is inverse head and shoulders bullish reversal pattern. So that's what I'm seeing on Balancer. That move to $3.85 is a nice 100% move, right? And this all makes sense. Cardano, one of the highest market caps. I'm expecting a 30% move. My neighbor Alice, a very low market cap altcoin. I'm expecting a 300% move. Balancer, not the lowest, but not a top 10 coin. I'm expecting a 100% move, right? Let's keep going. I don't know how long I'm going to go, but hopefully you get the gist and you're able to reproduce these on your own. I'm not going to make this video, I'm not going to make this video the longest video ever, but I'm going to do a few more. I don't think I have the patience to do my entire watch list because my watch list is quite long. So I might be a little more selective. I won't necessarily just go alphabetically because there's a few I have in mind that I really want to show you. Okay. Blur. As you can see, we've been in this clear channel with a clear resistance and a clear support since March of, what is that, 2020? No, sorry, March of 23. So over a year now, okay? And what I'm looking at here is an accumulation at the bottom of the channel, okay? So that's high time frame read, accumulation, bottom of the channel. Now I go into my 4-hourly time frame. What do I see? Okay, I really like what I'm seeing here. What am I seeing? I'm seeing the makings of an inverse head and shoulder. I just said inverse head and shoulders, they're bullish reversal patterns. They're what you typically see at the bottom of markets, okay? So looking at this from a non-pattern analysis vantage, right? Looking at it as an Elliott wave kind of AB base, I'm seeing this bottom right here as my capitulative bottom in August, right? As I said, you're going to see this throughout. You go up 5 waves, you go down in 3. Okay, that's my first degree of AB basing. I then go up in 5 waves, down in 3. That's my second degree of AB basing. Up in 5 waves, down in 3. Third degree of AB basing. The whole time I maintained the phi ratio here. Phi ratio retrace, phi ratio retrace, phi ratio retrace. That shows strength. Okay, as an analyst, any asset that is consistently respecting the phi ratio of the previous move up, I'm showing shows strength. Okay, now this right here I think is a little different. Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of a complex sort of accumulation on a smaller time frame here. Go up, go down, go up, go down, go up, go down. I'm seeing this as my final accumulation before a move up, okay? And in blur, I'm seeing my next logical target as being the midline of this year plus range, okay? The midline, remember, is resistance when you're below it, support when you're above it. And that, to me, is at 38.9 cents, okay? So 38.9 cents is my next logical target for blur, which is a 76% move, okay? So that's what I'm seeing in blur. All right, let's see if there's not anything that I absolutely want to show you. Lit. Let's do lit, synthetics, Tron, XRP and ZIL. Lit, synthetics, Tron, XRP and ZIL. 5 more, okay? Because I can't go on forever. All right. So Litentry. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. I hope you can just look at this on the weekly time frame, and the first thing that comes to mind is the symmetry. What am I talking about? Well, the symmetry here is clear. Okay? You go up and you come down. And ever since that move down here, okay, in February of 2022, you've maintained a very clean and clear support level in this accumulation range. And the symmetry is such that it's quite clear to me that whatever happens after this, there's going to be a markup that goes something like this. I think that's quite obvious. You're going to go up. You're more likely than not going to break all of the midline, come back up to these highs, right? Where you found resistance here, right? You're going to find resistance here about $2.20. So the next move here might be a big move, right? To about $2.20. Wouldn't be surprised. More specifically, what I would do is I would take my Fibonacci retracement tool from the top to the bottom of this move, and actually I would target the phi ratio here, The phi ratio is typically a good support level if you're coming down, but it's a good resistance level if you're going up and you're hitting it. And this impulse is what is the most recent impulse, bringing it down to this level. So that's why I'm pulling the phi ratio of this impulse, and it's at $2.47 on this chart. So I think something like this. And from there, I think you reject and you come down and you retest the midline of this channel. This channel has to be retested properly for it to leave the channel, right? And we talked about this in Arweave. You've been in this channel since 2022, early 2022. So over 2 years, okay? Almost 3 years you've been in this channel. There's no way you're leaving this channel clean and clear without retesting every element of the channel. The bottom support has been retested, fine. The top resistance has been retested, fine. You gotta do a retest of the midline. How do you do a retest of the midline? You fly through, you come back down, then you go high, okay? So I like lit entry where it's at, and I think the next logical target is at $2.47. That's about a 300% move. That makes so much sense because look at my neighbor Alice. It's about, I think, 600 in CoinMarketCap rankings. Lit entry is about the same. So I have my neighbor Alice going about 300%, and I have lit going about 300%. I didn't figure this out beforehand. This is just, it doesn't surprise me that coins of comparable market cap are going to do comparable initial moves. So this is what I'm seeing in lit entry, a nice 300% move. Okay. The next one I want to talk about is let's see. I mean, a lot of these look good. I hope you can see. Synthetics. I think that's what I said, right? Synthetics. Okay. So for synthetics, this is a very volatile asset. I hope you can see that. On the weekly time frame, look at how it's been trading. Okay? It came up and it came all the way back down. Obviously, this is on the weekly time frame, but the way you have this big wick to the upside, it just shows you a lot of very difficult trading being done here. And actually, if you go down the daily, you might see this for what it is. On the weekly, it looks like wicks. On the daily, it still looks like wicks. So that, to me, is telling me one thing. I want to be careful trading this on a small time frame because it can make drastic moves. Like on a high time, I think this is massive. This move within a week, I mean, I can't even count. Look at the percentage move in a week. That's exciting. That's exciting. That means it's a lot of potential in synthetics, okay? Another thing that jumps out to me looking at synthetics on a high time frame is that this looks triangle-y. This looks like a flag. I can't see anything here. I don't know if that's when it first came on the market or if this is just a truncated chart. But what jumps out to me is that my eye wants to flag this. It wants to look at a pennant. So I'm seeing a very large corrective pattern that's A, B, C, D, E. Something like that. Okay, obviously I didn't draw it perfectly, but A, B, C, D, E. That's what I'm seeing. So again, why am I so excited? Why have the last 4 or 5 years in crypto been absolute shit for most assets, for most altcoins? Because it's been doing this. Most altcoins, not all altcoins, most altcoins have been consolidating in some way, shape, or form. Most assets have been consolidating in some way, shape, or form. The future moves in crypto are going to make the previous moves look like child's play. This has been going on since 2019 in synthetics. Okay, this is a particularly strong example of previous consolidation being really protracted and what you can look forward to based off of the previous consolidation. People think that, oh, this is a dead coin. This is not like, this is a bad coin. No. It's because they can't read markets. Go on a high time frame and read the market. There's nothing bad about this. It's annoying. It's frustrating, but it is very promising if you're in this asset. Because actually, if you look at the anatomy of a pennant, what you're looking at is higher highs and higher lows made correctively. Higher highs and higher lows being made correctively. You're making higher highs and higher lows. And you've come up to this level. And most recently, if you focus in on what's been going on in synthetics, you can see from August, sorry. There's my August low. From the August low, what you've gotten is 1 degree of baby basing, 2 degrees of baby basing, a pivot, and a subsequent move, a smaller degree of 2 degrees of baby basing and a pivot. Okay, that's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like to me. If I'm looking at this, what do I see? 1 degree of baby basing, 2 degrees of baby basing, and this is my pivot right here. This is really, really nice. If indeed this is accurate, this move represents a massive breakout for synthetics, right? A massive breakout. And that breakout has been 5 years in the making, right? That's the level of bullishness that people looking at these charts correctly should have. The next logical target for me in synthetics is this $5.60 level, okay? Now, $5.60 is about a 300% move from here. Okay, synthetics isn't at the level of Litentry and My Neighbor Alice, but why could it make a 300% move? It's because, actually, sorry, 300%. Yeah, that's right. Because I would be using this impulse. I take the, sorry, let me think. No, it's higher. You know why it's higher? Because this is the impulse that I would go off of. I'd measure this impulse, right? I'd put my Fibonacci retracement tool from the top to the bottom here. $8.51. That is my next logical target. $8.51. That's a 5x from here. I mean, look at this. And I guess just like I talked about in Litentry, you come up here, the next likely move is to retest the midline of this channel. You're not leaving this channel that you've been in since April of 2022 without retesting the midline. That's how channels are done, right? You're gonna blast through the midline, and people think you're finished with it, who don't understand this, price action, this how to read these markets. But those of you who are more savvy are going to take profit at the $8.50 level because you're coming back down to the midline of the channel before you continue. Okay, that's what I'm seeing. Like the longer the base, the higher in space. This synthetics has been through so much pain, and it looks very promising for a subsequent pump. Okay, and that pump is the highest pump that I've seen thus far in this analysis, right? There may be more, but I think that's one of the highest on my watch list. 5x, right? $8.50. I'm glad I was able to talk you guys through that. Okay, Tron, XRP, and then Zilica. Okay, Tron is about to go into what we call, whoops, wrong Tron chart. Tron is about to go into what we call price discovery. Look at what Tron's been doing. Tron is special in that while everything else has been going down and sideways, Tron has been going up and sideways. Okay? Ever since February of ever since November of 2022, look at what Tron has been doing. Okay? Tron has gone up about 250% since then. It makes sense though, right? Because Tron USD, TUSD is such a vital aspect of the cryptocurrency trading infrastructure. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I use Tron to trade USDT, right? USD, yeah, Tron USDT or whatever it's called, basically. I'm using Tron all the time. So that when you're trading between Tron USD and Tron, I'm sure a lot of people, there are a lot of algorithms that are trading back and forth between Tron and Tron USDT. It makes it more valuable, okay? Because it has a very specific use case, and it forces people to use it when it's such a valid part, it's such a strong part of the infrastructure. So I'm not surprised why the Tron chart is the way it is. Now, as a result of that, look at what's happened. You have this massive cup and handle pattern, and you're at the neckline of this six-year cup and handle pattern. So for something like Tron is, you're gonna go into what we call price discovery. You're gonna make an all-time high, very likely, and you're gonna go higher. So I don't know how high it can go. I assumed, based off of this chart, you can see my analysis is this. This cup and handle has a target of the height of the cup superimposed from the side of breakout. That makes it $2.65 from here. Okay? So that is my target for the cup and handle. That may be true. That may not be true. I don't know. But that is a likely target. So that's about a 14, 15x. That may be the extent of Tron's bull target for this bull run. Wouldn't be surprised. Okay? But my first target, as you can see, is more likely than not that first wave. Okay? Because if you look at that $2.66 target, and you split it into 5 waves, right? Which any advance, any impulse is split into. That first wave is likely to hit around the 618. So the 618, right? Which would be about 47 cents. So I could see Tron doing, based off of this analysis, right? Which I don't know because it's in price discovery, so I'm just doing my best. I could see Tron doing 170% based off of this, right? And it's going into price discovery, so it's just going to run. So yeah, that looks really good. That's really bullish. And I wanted to show you Tron just because it's particular. There's very little like it, okay? XRP, very tough asset to be in for the past few years. Okay. XRP has been not too much unlike synthetics, okay? Except XRP is just much more popular than synthetics. But XRP, you can see, is in a 2,500 day triangle. And it's quite clear. This is a WXY, maybe XZ. Maybe it's a 333, maybe it's a 333, I don't know. But I'm seeing this as a 333, so a WXY, and then everything since everything since June of 2022 is a consolidation, basically sideways price action to get ready to move up and out. Okay, the first target for XRP to me is quite clear, and I've had this target for years actually. It's the top of this yellow. It's this yellow line. It's obvious to me. You've been in XRP, right? Like I said, for 2,500 days. This yellow line that you see here is a 2,500 day resistance. Unlikely, very unlikely that you're going to blast through. The second you touch it, you're going to retrace. So for me, XRP is an easy enough target. Okay, from where it's at, it's hitting this yellow line and it's retracing. And that retracement is likely the top of all of this stuff right here, which makes sense, right? Because this has been resistance since about July of 2023. So this has been resistance since July of 2023. I mean, it's obvious to me. More than a year of resistance, I'm blasting through, hitting massive resistance of 2,500 days, coming back, testing previous resistances, new support, and then keeping it moving. It's as simple as that. That is my read on XRP. On the smaller time frames, and by the way, I didn't mention that right now, this week, obviously it's going to change week to week because this is a descending or falling diagonal resistance. But this week, that resistance on this Bitstamp chart is about at $1.09, $1.10. It's been like that for a while now. $1.10. Okay. On the smaller time frames for XRP, I'm looking once again. Okay. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, refer back to my first altcoin analysis of Cardano in this video, timestamped, and you should understand what I'm talking about when I mention this August low, this August capitulation. But counting from this August capitulation, actually, I'm going to count with XRP from this July capitulation because it's quite clear here that I have a three-wave move. This is an A and this is a B. Okay, that's all I'll say. This is quite clear to me. That's an A and that's a B. It's also quite clear to me that's another A, that's another B, or you want to call this an alpha and beta. It doesn't matter. And then it's also quite clear to me that this is my pivot, and this right here is my first full, clean, and clear impulse in XRP. Okay, I have 2 degrees of AB basing and pivot. I want you guys to see how consistent Ralph Nelson Elliott's AB base analysis is, right? His theory of how assets consolidate. I mean, I haven't seen anything like it, and nobody talks about it. Nobody fucking talks about AB basing, okay? Because it's not sexy. Because shit's going sideways. You're not making gains. But you're analyzing, and you come day in and day out just analyzing, looking at the charts, and trying to make sense of it. 1 degree of AB basing, 2 degrees of AB basing. Here you have a flat correction. Here you have a zigzag. Here you have now a flat correction that made a lower low from the bottom of the initial one. And here, to me, it's quite clear. You have a clean, pure impulse. I love that read for XRP. If I'm trading XRP, I'm throwing my fibs from the bottom here to the top, probably here. And I'm throwing my stop loss at about 50 cents. There are no 49.7 cents. 49.8 cents. Okay? 49.78 cents. And I'm expecting that to move from here. Okay? That to me is clean and clear. 5 waves up, 3 waves down for XRP. Okay, I really like that read. Last but not least, Zilica. Okay, Zilica. And you can see I have quite an extensive watch list. So I don't have time or energy. I don't have the energy to go through every single last one. And the video would be, I mean, it's already crazy long. How long are we in? We're in an hour and 25 minutes. This is really like a marathon, but whatever. I'm not going to do this all the time. Obviously, I don't do this often. But yeah, this is all that I have the energy for and the excitement for, because I'm losing interest. But this is useful even to me. So I hope this is useful for you. Okay, Zilica. High time frame. This is, again, just like we saw in Cardano, a great example of an advance. 5 waves up, 3 waves down. Okay, this is what a lot of people know to be, Elliott wave analysis. That's all they know most of the time. 5 waves up, 3 waves down. Very clear, very easy to see. Boom, done. Now, where it gets intricate, where it gets more subtle is once you hit that low in late 2022, what have you done? Well, you've gone sideways. You've consolidated and you've accumulated buyers preparing for your next markup. Okay, that's all that this is. And so focusing in on that consolidation, because this is where you can determine if it's safe, if it's prudent, if it's advisable to expect a markup. Okay, so here we count. We start counting. 1 degree of AB basing. Okay, so my initial A wave, B wave, complementary A, B wave. Here's my secondary A wave, call it alpha. Here's my secondary B wave, call it beta. That's tricky as hell. That's so fucking tricky. You're not going to be able to tell what that is until it's finished. This is the impossible part, and I repeat, that's the impossible part of consolidation, accumulation, corrective price action. You can't tell. Anybody who tells you they can is lying, because it could be a flat correction, and the flat correction could look like a 786 retrace. It could be a 914 retrace. It could be a 1382 retrace. It could be close to the 1618 retrace, right? You can make a lower low. Or it could be a zigzag. You don't know. It could be a zigzag that looks like this. It could be a zigzag that looks like this. It could be a zigzag that looks like this. You don't know. Okay, so anyway, 2 degrees of AB basing. Here's my pivot, my zigzag. My pivot is a zigzag in Zilica. Okay, and it's basically at the bottom of this range. We're doing here what we call in Wyckoff analysis a spring. You basically break the range to the downside, but not by too much, and you accumulate below what people thought was the lowest possible support. See, this is the lowest support. This was established support, and then you broke it, and now you're coming back and you're gonna pop up. That's basically going to be a short squeeze, because the people who traded this thought, oh, this has been support since 2023. If it breaks this, it's going to go down much further. The move up back has trapped them. And so they're going to be squeezed. They are now at a loss because they need to get down here to break even, because they assumed it was going to go down. I mean, this is just what you see all the time in markets. It's once again called a spring in Wyckoff analysis. Look it up if you don't know what it is. That's a spring in Wyckoff analysis. You typically see it. It traps short sellers, and it fakes out long the long speculators. So basically, the market does what it can do to capture the most liquidity. It stops out the shorts and it stops out the longs. Everybody gets screwed, and then it marks up significantly. That's what I'm seeing happening. And this is the final move. Again, 1 degree of AB basing, 2 degrees of AB basing. Here's my pivot, which is a zigzag. Boom. I think you go from there. The next logical resistance, once again, I'm going to take this, my most recent impulse. I'm going to count from the top here. I'm going to use this as my orthodox high. Down all the way here. And basically, my 26-cent mark, or $2, 2.6 cents. So 0.026 is my next target for Zilica, which from where we're at now is about an 85-86% move. Okay. So that was the last one. Hope this was helpful. Hope this was useful. Like, share, and subscribe if you got value. If you want a personal or if you want me to analyze an asset of your choosing, go on my Buy Me a Coffee, and I think it's $10 or something like that, and order an analysis, and I may have it to you within the day, if not within 48 hours, and I'll send it to you. Okay? All right, everyone. Hope that was helpful, useful, whatever you want it to be. Take care. See you next time.